My experiences as a jackaroo were groundbreaking for me because it was then I made the decision that if I was to stay in the bush and make a business of it, I needed to protect myself from the vagrancies of the rural business. We were the first to fully vertically integrated in the beef and cattle industry in Australia. Cattle stations were identified, feedlots were identified, where the supply chain would be built, and we've managed through that plan and continued to grow to the size we are today. It was a game changer for me. I came back to Australia in late 60s, early 70s, built what I believe was the second feedlot to be built in that year in Australia. I worked out really early in my rural career that we needed to deal with the position of delivering 365 days of the year, a same quality, meeting specification, an animal that fitted every criteria the customer wanted. Well, the ACC feedlots are probably the most critical thing that Australian country choice. Without feedlots, we wouldn't exist. The arrangements with Coles started with a vertically integrated model. They liked it, the banks liked it, therefore away it went. People wonder how it's lasted for 45 years, but the reality is that it lasted because it was successful. We could produce exactly what they wanted, exactly on time, and exactly to their specifications.
Delivering for Coles, the advantages of ACC was the pure focus on them and them alone. The biggest game changers for both Coles and ACC was the conversion of the cattle herd to the no added hormones program. It couldn't have occurred for Coles without ACC's existence because of the sheer control over the volumes and the cattle supply chain that we could offer to the business.
We actually built a $50 million facility to handle that. The reality is that we would get our orders at 6 o'clock in the morning, and we had to manufacture, produce, label, price, and have it into our distribution centre by 5 o'clock in the afternoon and gone by 6 o'clock. So it's a very time-pressured business, retail ready.
Trevor presented me with a plan and a vision over 20 years ago that quite excited me when I walked into the business. I think we had one farm, about 3,000 cattle on feed and 110 staff. Today we sit here talking to you with 1,400 staff.
We have over 40 cattle stations, over 5 million acres, running up to 300,000 cattle. We have 3 feedlots that run around 70,000 cattle, and we can process at this meatworks up to 400,000 cattle a year. Australian Country Choice is the 3rd largest cattle owner and landowner in Australia. We are also the largest privately owned, vertically integrated beef and cattle business in the world.
And so I think with Trevor's big picture, and I do big detail, there's a pretty happy marriage there between those, because I think we both need it. And we trust each other and we're open with each other.
Australian Country Choice has made money every year, and that's a rarity within the Australian rural industry, and it's something that the company is extremely proud of.
Coupled with this unique over-the-horizon ability is Trevor's relentless pursuit of transparency, inclusiveness, honesty, and decisive decision-making. A strength of the company remains that Trevor is active and seen by all his staff, to the point where he's actually will be seen on a horse, on our cattle stations, wandering around, not checking up, just checking out. It has been said that the best form of fertiliser is the owner's boots.
I like to listen to everyone's opinion. I like to employ people with integrity and honesty as core values. I like work ethics. At any time they can walk straight into my office and have a chat about things if it's not going well. So that stems from the early days and It's never changed. That's how this family company's developed and grown. I believe that around 30% of our workforce have worked for us between 10 and 30 years.
How would our 1,400 people view Trevor? Well, A, he's engaging. He's not above anybody in the business, whether you're from the floor sweeper, the cleaner, the night guard. Trevor, he'll treat them as equally. He's generous in giving people opportunity, but he's open with them and he's frank with them.
David's worked for the company for 20 years. I would classify David as probably the most knowledgeable man that I know in the Australian beef and cattle industry. That covers every facet of that industry of cattle, right through to the beef and the sale of beef and the exporting of beef and the domestic supply of beef. So I rate David at the top of the tree. He's honest, his integrity is beyond approach, his work ethic is amazing. Kerry has been an important part of the business because at an early age, Kerry was enormously successful. So she understands business. She's on the family board and she's on the business board, and I might say she's quite famous for the words, not another cattle station. So the boards all put their heads down and go, oh well, yes, we're buying another cattle station. Well, the transition from Coles to Woolworths is taking place over 4 years. We're changing our whole beef model as well, which was all part of the succession strategy that the company is. And we're going from 30% export and 70% domestic to 70% export and 30% domestic. So Woolworths are going to take up that 30%, which for us is a great story.
Our staff are all qualified stockmen. They're trained in low-stress stock handling. So we've been focusing on reducing stress and keeping the cattle calm as everything. And Trevor has been a teacher in that across all our businesses. We lead that from the top.
I think the world is short of protein, and anything that can be developed that is cost-effective to feed the world will make the world a better place. It will take a share of the meat market and it'll be successful. How will we deal with it? Well, I'd rather join it than fight it. But I am upset about it being called meat. I just don't think that's playing the game fair. Our two eldest sons, Anthony and Michael, have been involved in the business now for over 17 years. Both boys had to work their way through. It's a difficult business integration. 37 or 38 businesses within the supply chain. So those boys have had to earn their stripes through that, and they don't get promoted unless they're good enough to be. Am I looking for a private company to continue? There is no doubt a private company has so much more flexibility, and it's rare for a private company to be our size. So no, it'll remain a private company. Australian Country Choice is a proud Queensland company.